People always say that Singapore is the Switzerland of Asia. But is that really true? I've heard this my whole life and I just had to find out for myself. So I packed my bags and traveled to both countries to compare them side by side. From their banking systems to public transport, food, and even lifestyle. Let's find out if Singapore really is the Asian Switzerland or if that's just a myth. First stop, Switzerland. I traveled to Switzerland during the winter because, in my experience, visiting Europe in the colder months is always cheaper. But there was one big problem. The winter was brutal, so brutal that filming was almost impossible. Freezing winds, heavy snow. It made capturing video a serious challenge, but that didn't stop me from exploring. And now I'm here to find out, is Singapore really the Switzerland of Asia? Switzerland is famous for being one of the richest and most financially stable countries in the world. Does that remind you of somewhere? You see, Switzerland is a global banking hub, just like Singapore. Both have strong financial secrecy laws and attract international investors. The main difference: Switzerland's banking history is centuries old, while Singapore is a much newer player. So now we have learned that both countries are financial giants. But what about their government and neutrality? Switzerland is famous for staying neutral in wars. They are not even a member of NATO despite being in the EU. Singapore, on the other hand, is a pro-neutral nation that follows a very careful foreign policy. So they are both similar, but not exactly the same. Back in Singapore, and wow, look at the efficiency. While Switzerland is known for its punctual trains, Singapore has its own legendary public transport system. Honestly, both are super clean and always on time. But while Switzerland has breathtaking countryside views, Singapore's system is ultra-modern and built for a fast-paced city lifestyle. Like Switzerland, Singapore is a financial powerhouse. But there is a big difference. Switzerland is old money. Singapore is new money. This city went from a fishing village to a financial hub in just a few decades. I spoke off camera with a Singaporean economist who told me that Singapore was built to be a financial hub, while Switzerland, on the other hand, evolved into one over centuries. Also, Singapore's government plays a bigger role in shaping its economy. Both countries are rich, but Switzerland is expensive everywhere. In Singapore, you can still find cheap food in hawker centers. Now, this is where they are totally different. Switzerland has cheese, chocolate, and fine dining. Singapore, street food heaven. I mean, where else can you get Michelin star meals for under $5? Singapore is a mix of cultures. Chinese, Malay, Indian, all in one place. Switzerland, it's a mix too, but more European, with French, German, and Italian influences. Both are diverse, but in completely different ways. Singapore is a city melting pot, while Switzerland is divided into distinct cultural regions. So is Singapore really the Switzerland of Asia? Well, yes and no. Both are rich, safe, and financially powerful. But Switzerland is old money, neutral and rural, while Singapore is fast-paced, ultra-modern, and strategically positioned in Asia. So in the end, they have similarities. But Singapore isn't a copy of Switzerland. It is uniquely Singapore. After visiting both countries, I have to be honest, I personally enjoyed my trip to Singapore much more than my time in Switzerland. And I think I know why. Switzerland is breathtaking, the snow-covered Alps, the old European charm, the luxurious atmosphere. But there was just one problem: the cold And not just regular cold, extreme cold. I visited Switzerland during winter, which in theory sounds magical. But for someone like me, born and raised in Africa, this was a completely different level of cold that I just wasn't prepared for. I'm used to warm climates, sunshine, and vibrant outdoor life. But in Switzerland, winter was harsh. It was so cold that filming was a challenge. I couldn't even hold my camera for too long before my fingers started going numb. Walking around felt like an endurance test rather than a travel experience. Don't get me wrong, Switzerland is a stunning country, but the winter conditions definitely made it harder for me to fully enjoy my time there. Then I arrived in Singapore, and it was a completely different experience. Warm weather, palm trees, lively streets, and a city full of energy. Day and night, everything felt alive. From the street food stalls to the high-tech trains, the modern skyscrapers to the lush green parks. Unlike Switzerland, where the winter kept people indoors, Singapore felt open and welcoming, making it easy to explore and enjoy every moment. Instead of shivering in the cold, I was walking freely, hopping on the MRT, enjoying late-night street food, and soaking in the fast-paced yet comfortable lifestyle of Singapore. The city just felt more accessible, and honestly, that made all the difference. So if you ask me, which one did I enjoy more? Hands down, Singapore. But here is the thing. I don't think that Singapore is objectively better than Switzerland. It is just that for me, visiting Switzerland in the winter made it much harder to enjoy. If I had gone during the summer, maybe my experience would have been different. But right now, I'll take Singapore's warm weather, vibrant streets, and modern convenience over Switzerland's frozen beauty any day. But that's just my experience. What do you think? Would you rather live in Singapore or Switzerland? Have you been to both, or do you dream of visiting one? If you enjoyed this journey, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you don't miss my next adventure. See you in the next video.